Welcome back to the Zero Weakness Podcast, where we talk about how to be a better lifter, how to be a better coach, and everything in between. Make sure you subscribe and enjoy.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Zero Weakness Podcast. This podcast is sponsored by Establishment Coffee. Go to establishmentcoffee.com.au, use the code 025 and get 25% off your order and free shipping. All right, we got a special episode today, don't we, Henny?
Yes, we do. Thank you for the assist.
Alley-oop, throw it up.
Yeah, there we go.
Hey. Bridget, you got
All right, now we've got a very special episode. Before we get started, what have we been up to, guys? Tom, bro, you start. You've been fucking traveling the globe. You're a jet setter.
Tom, bro, 747.
Yes.
I don't know if I'd consider cans jet setting. It would have been cooler to land on the sun than to spend a few days in Cairns. Yeah, we headed up last week to build the Cairns gym, which was pretty much laying all the flooring and building all the equipment. So that's all done. Still a lot of renovations to do up there before the gym's actually functional and open. So that'll be coming to you in early 2023. If you're in Cairns, just keep an eye out on the social medias. You will see it happen. That's been my life for the last week.
How exciting.
Congratulations, brother. What's that gym number?
5.
Nice.
Wowzers.
5. It should be number 6, but we're having a hard time finding a location for what was number 5 that will be number 6. As in, like, we've got the gym ready to go. We're just having a hard time finding a unit for it. But it'll come.
Just like quickly before we go around the circle, what you need to do at that Cairns gym, though, you got $1 million gym with a $2 door.
Yeah, that's the back door. That's the back door. The one that you're talking about.
I was like, what the fuck is that door for?
Yeah, no, the front door is more like a nice retail door. That just looks like your screen door on the backyard. That's what that is.
I was like, beauty, the gym's in a crack house.
Yeah. No, well, there's still a lot of renovations to go there. It's a very old building, and it's pretty scummy in there. So Wes and Brooke and the crew up there are doing a great job of cleaning it up. What about you guys? What have we been up to?
I got the Christmas Cup on Saturday.
Nice.
Let's go.
Competing and working,
Nice.
I'm guessing. Yeah, I'm excited.
Nice. What are you going to lift? What are your openers?
My openers, my squat is 110. 110. My bench is 47.5, and my deadlift is 115. So,
yeah.
That's
awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be good. I'm hoping to hit some PBs, but this one's just for fun. So whatever happens, happens.
Oh, laying the foundation. Look, if I don't PB, we get it.
It wasn't the day that I wanted.
Wait for the Instagram post. Look, the plan was always just to come and have fun, and even though I didn't hit the numbers I wanted, I still had fun.
Yeah.
spirit of it.
Exactly.
Mission accomplished.
That's the best. CJ, what have you been up to?
What have I been up to? I guess, what have we been doing? Can I say? Yes, I can. It's been announced. So we've been filming the nutrition course. It's been really fun filming with Rochelle.
Rochelle's amazing.
Fun or funny?
Hilarious. I look forward to those days. So, that's been fun for me at least. She dreads them. I guess since the last been on, we just finished World. So it was cool to see all the lifters that I connected with at Worlds, like starting posting all my stuff and seeing some of my stuff get printed at some people's gyms. That was really cool to see.
Yeah, you killed it, brother.
Yeah. And that's been it for me.
Nice.
What about you, Run Fu Henny?
Oh. Well, look, I identify as a powerlifter now.
A hybrid athlete.
Yeah. No. What have I been up to? Not much. Just same. Plodding along, training, running, lifting. Just same old. I've actually got a big weekend coming up.
The 2-up.
Yeah, the 2-up.
Full trot.
What do you got?
I got a bench-only competition on Saturday and a 25K race on Sunday.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'm excited. A lot of people are disappointed that it's bench-only, but it is what it is. I don't see them running 25K.
Yeah, a lot of people can't run from the front door to the fridge.
Yes, exactly.
A lot of people should keep their mouths shut.
To the fridge.
No, I'm excited. I'm excited for bench. I probably started benching maybe 6 weeks ago.
Yep.
So everyone who knows me, my bench doesn't get worse, but it doesn't get better. So it's always around the same. So I'm going to open on the same I did at all of my comps.
in 2009.
2009.
So I did my first bench only comp. That's how I got introduced to powerlifting.
Yes.
2018
In the
or
Moonbird.
2017 in the Moonbird, and I opened at 125. So I'll be opening at 125 again.
Nice.
But yeah, I got a race on Sunday. That's what I'm really looking forward to. I'm gonna fucking leave a piece of my soul out there for that. And then after that, I'm gonna get back into some more serious strength training. With SBD stuff. So I'm excited.
Very cool.
Nice. What are you hoping to do the 25 in?
I want to go 435 per K.
Nice.
So if I can go anywhere between 435 and 440 per K, that means I'll be sub 156.
What was your per K score or like your per K at the half marathon?
454.
Oh,
Yeah.
so longer and quicker.
Yeah. So I've really got the newbie gains. Like they've come pretty hard, which is cool.
Nice.
Cool.
Oh, that's exciting, man. I hope you do really well.
Thank you, bro.
Are you going to wear your $700 shirt?
We've got matching uniforms to wear, so it'll be cool. No, I'm excited.
Yeah, I thought it was like the Kathy Freeman moon suit. Yes. Or when Torpedo wore those secret pants. You know?
Oh
Yes.
man, nah, but yeah, I'm excited. What are we grateful for, Bridget? What are you grateful for?
I'm grateful for all the different ways in which we can stay fit. So the amount of sports that are out there that we can try, and there's something out there for everyone. And I think we should try as many things as possible.
Oh, tell them what you're doing.
I am taking boxing lessons after comp.
Let's go.
Yes, I can't wait.
Let's organise a fight. CJ versus Bridget.
I'm in.
I thought CJ was either going to love it or he was going to crack up laughing.
No, I love it. She's punched me in the face before.
By accident.
You probably deserved it.
Not an accident.
No, you leant down because you were laughing. It was meant to connect with your chest.
So she
and
was
it got
throwing
your
a punch at
face.
me. She was throwing a punch.
Regardless, there's violence, and I'm sensing an HR meeting coming up.
Oh no. Oh no, that's
But
awesome.
yeah, I'm really excited.
Yeah,
so I can't
that's
wait.
very cool.
Yep.
Keeping that under wraps.
I can teach you how to wrap your hands.
Yeah, please do. I need some tips. I need all the help I can get.
I can teach you how to wrap your wrists
And knees.
and knees. James, what are you grateful for?
I am grateful for this. I know we say it every week, but I actually am really grateful for this. 10 years of Zero is fucking nuts. And I can't believe I've kind of been here for half of it. So I'm like, fuck. The growth I've seen in 5 years. And when I look at all those photos that you post, I know you're going to get deep dive into this later, but I just can't believe it. I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah, it's crazy. Very crazy.
Amazing.
CJ.
Yeah, same. Now that I think I said this last time I was on, I'm very grateful for this and for you guys. I'm very grateful for the coaching, the guidance, and all that. I think I was saying that I remember looking back and talking to some of my mates and seeing them train and how far I've come, and I've gone there's no way I could have done that. Seeing the numbers that I do now and how much I love training and how, I guess, good I am at it. Me 2.5 years ago at EMF, that guy was never going to bench 100, ever. You know what I mean? So, I'm very grateful for that and how much I love lifting and really, this is, a non-negotiable for me now.
100.
It's, a big part of who I am. So I'm very grateful for it.
Nice.
It's amazing.
Nice,
I'm
nice,
grateful
nice.
for you, CJ.
Yeah.
Thanks, B.
Nice. I am grateful for Audible. I can't really read, and I don't really read, but I consume a lot of audio books, and it's been a big part of my growth and development in business and in life in general. I read not business books as well, or listen to not business books, and it's just crazy to think that even 5 years ago, ease of access to audiobooks that wasn't really a thing. So just being able to consume that information in a different way and in a way that I can actually connect with has been really pivotal for me. So I'm grateful for audiobooks. This whole podcast episode is going to be my grateful.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm going a little bit different.
No, I like that. That's
Do you
awesome.
have a favorite book?
Do I have a favorite
Yeah.
book?
Fiction and non-fiction. One of each.
I would probably say that my favorite book, nonfiction, has been Sapiens.
Yeah.
And I don't know if favorite is even the right word, but definitely the most pivotal book in my life. I read it at a really interesting time in my life, and it had an impact on me that has kind of reverberated through me for since I read it, which was in 2018. And I've read it since then. I say read. I'm going to keep saying read. When I say read, I mean listen to. I've read it, I don't know, 4 or 5 times.
Amazing.
On that, CJ, what's your favorite book?
I'm like Thomas, I don't really read.
Audible?
Yeah, no, I don't, to be honest. Yeah, like, besides like my faith, like I read the Bible, but I don't really read like just anything. Yeah, I'm not a reader.
Gidge?
Everyone's probably going to laugh at me, but The Lord of the Rings, I've read it about 4 times. I read it for the first time when I was 9 and didn't really understand most of what was in it, and then read it again as an adult, and I can't stop reading it.
So
I love it.
You said to me non-fiction and fiction before. I only said non-fiction.
Yeah,
Fiction would be Lord of the
Lord of the Rings. It's just unbelievable.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts then on Tom Bombadil not being in the movie?
He should have been in it. He should have been in it. But I don't know how they would have portrayed a character like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It's a tough one.
It is.
Who's Tom Bombaclat?
Completely butcher the name.
Bombadil.
What does that word mean? It's like a Jamaican slang.
Yeah, Bombaclat.
We should probably check what it means just in case it's like a racial slur.
Nah, it's not a racial slur. It's not a racial slur.
Probably check.
Just in case we're not allowed to say it. We need to fact check that. Jeez.
That's so good. All right.
What's your favorite book?
Yeah. You're not escaping that easy.
Yeah.
My favorite book it's a book that changed my life. It's called How to Do the Work by Dr. Nicole LaPera.
Nice.
She's a holistic psychologist. And yeah, it's just awesome. I'll cry if I talk about it, so I can't.
Right. How to do the work.
Yeah.
You heard it here first. You probably didn't, but
All right, Grateful's done. Quotes. Who's got a quote? CJ, come. Oh gosh.
I wasn't ready for this.
Well, the first thing, I don't want to spoil
I've
what
got
we
one.
filmed. But
yeah, no, say it.
say it.
Yeah.
So more is caught than taught. And
Ooh.
so something like at church when we, that's like the biggest thing we like kind of press into people who lead is that lead from the front, lead by example. People catch what you do more than what you tell them. It's, don't be from the back bossing, lead from the front.
I love that.
That's good.
My one this week is a Marcus Aurelius quote that I'm going to butcher the actual quote, but it's something along the lines of the best revenge is to not be the same as your enemy.
Ooh,
That's good.
that's good.
And even though I don't want revenge on anyone and I don't really have any enemies, you can take that sort of concept and sort of apply it to anything. Anyone who wrongs you or hurts you, causes you pain, it can be easy to retaliate with fighting fire with fire. And the best thing is to not stoop to their level a lot of the time.
I like that.
Yeah.
I needed that. I've been falling down that trap lately, getting very angry, aggressive. Not really, but yeah, I'm like, fuck, just got to do this. What about you, Bridget?
I can't remember exactly how it goes, but it's something along the lines of if you want to lift yourself up, lift up someone else. Yes. So it's kind of like the same thing, like misery loves company. I think happiness loves company. Positive vibes all around. It's infectious. Yeah.
Nice.
Mine's one for a little bit of mindset for this weekend. Hurting hurts more when you hurting hurts when you lose, but hurting never hurts when you're winning. So that's my mindset going into this weekend.
love that one.
Yeah, I'm not going to win anything. Just
I was going to be like, let me get this straight. You're going to win the 25K.
no. Like I've got a goal, and I know if I don't hit that goal, it's not the end of the world, but it's going to hurt more if I don't. And if I'm fucking dying, get my heart rate above 200, by the end of the race and hit my goal, it's like, fuck, yeah, that hurts, but it doesn't hurt that much because I fucking won.
Yeah. Yeah, no, love that.
It's going to take the ribbon. You heard it here first. It's going to take the ribbon.
No, I get it. Winning comes in many shapes and forms.
That's right.
That's it. So we've got a really special podcast today. We got the big boss dog, Tom Bro. We're celebrating 10 years of Zero.
Yes.
Amazing.
Congratulations, brother. That's fucking unreal.
Thank you. It's kind of like those sitcom episodes. That's actually just like they couldn't be bothered making an episode, so they just go through the highlights of all the episodes so far. That's basically this podcast.
Oh, that's so good.
Love it.
Oh, what? Well, You can start, Thomas.
Yeah, no, let's start with humble beginnings. Basically, like, I didn't give these guys an agenda, so they're a bit lost, but feel free to ask questions at any stage, because that'll help me sort of flesh out my memories around all this stuff. But I just pretty much wanted to talk through the history of Zero, because a lot of people have come into our world now, you know, become Zero heroes in the last 2 years or so, or know of Zero as Zero, not as PTC Gold Coast, not as the past. And so I guess for anyone who's, you know, in our tribe, in our clan, in our family now, I want to give you the backstory of how we've gotten to where we've gotten. Because, you know, now every year I post the photos of where we used to be, and sometimes videos come up that get shared of like the old gyms. But a lot of people just see Zero as like this established gym, or established set of gyms, or a company or set of companies, and it wasn't always that way. So I guess I want to give a little bit of a backstory. So Tommy actually, Tom Hardy, in my Q&A thing, he sort of asked where it all began and where I trained before I had the gym. And so to sort of step back into where Zero was born from, or where PTC Gold Coast, I'm just going to keep calling it Zero even though it was PTC Gold Coast, just to make it easier. To see where it was all born from, I was always training in commercial gyms. I trained in a gym called Lifestyle. It's a chain of gyms around Springwood, around the Logan area. And I was in the Springwood one to begin with when I was like 16, and then I eventually moved to the Logan Central one when I lived in the hood. And I was training there, and I was getting into powerlifting, and I had internet friends who were into powerlifting. This is like 2010, 11. And I had a friend who lived out on a farm and basically went through a split up, and he had all this cool powerlifting stuff, and I bought it all off him and I put it in a garage. So I wanted to start training by myself in my garage at my dad's house, because leading into 2012 Nationals, someone had walked into the bar while I was doing my opener, and I tore my adductor. So like the dumbbell rack was right next to the squat rack, and I was squatting 220, and someone went to put a dumbbell back and just accidentally shouldered the bar, so it spun. I still stood up with it, but it spun, put all the weight on one leg, and tore my adductor. So I was like, if I'm going to be serious, I need to, be in a serious environment. And it was getting harder and harder to do that as the commercial gym was growing. And I just finished uni, and that was the first year of having a real job, working as a community nutritionist with the government. So I had some money. I bought this stuff. I put it in my dad's house. And basically, after doing 2 years of work in the government changed, and they were going to get rid of all the preventative health stuff. So all the nutritionists were going to go. Funny story, actually, because I was up in Cairns on the weekend, they mentioned Innisfail, and I forgot about this. So I got offered a job in Roma, which is like wherever, 9 hours west or something, in the middle of nowhere. And it was a mining boom, so the real estate was super expensive. It was a great paying job, but most of my money would have gone to just rent out there. And it was in the middle of nowhere. But I wanted this job in Innisfail, which is like way up north in like tropical North Queensland, and it was much higher paying, and I applied for it. And if I got it, I would have taken it, and I would have never opened the gym. I didn't want the position in Roma, so I was like, okay, well, I'm going to write out my current contract. And then I was I was married back then. I was walking through a park with my wife, and I'm just like, I'm going to open a gym. That's what I'm going to do instead of looking for another health job, because there were none, because everyone was getting fired. So people ask a lot, like, what hurdles did you overcome in opening the first gym? What was the thought process, and what did you do in opening the gym? I walked through a park and I said, I'm going to open a gym, and then I opened one. Like,
isn't it funny how you're one decision away from a completely different life?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so wild to look back, and it's a useless thought experiment but to be like, would I've met you guys? Would I even still be doing this? Would I still live here? Would I have gone back to New Zealand? Or what would life be like if you didn't make this one decision? And really, every decision you make in your life every day is kind of like that.
Yeah.
What do I look like in an alternative universe not making that decision?
A multiverse theory.
Yeah, exactly. So honestly, I said I was going to open a gym. I had that stuff in my garage. I had very limited money. So I was on a good income at the time. And my ex-wife, she had a whole bunch of savings, and so she gave me a bunch of money. I was making good money, but as soon as I opened the gym, I had to go back to driving a forklift, so that's what I did. So the gym opened with those photos that I posted the other day, like just a couple of power racks, The equipment that I had at home, a power rack, a whole bunch of plates. I bought a GHR. I had 16 mats. That was the entire flooring. My brother was working at a steel manufacturer at the time, so we stole some time off them and some scrap metal and made a weight tree, chalk bowl, the dip bars, the deadlift jack. All of that stuff you'd be familiar with because it lived in the gym up until just recently. Like that deadlift jack out the back, that's OG. We made that.
What else is OG here?
What's from the first gym?
Yeah.
Oh, in this gym, the kettlebells, but that was a couple of months after I opened.
Yeah.
The monolift, the older one.
Yeah.
Same thing. That was in the gym a couple of months after I opened. One of the Alico bars, same thing, a couple of months after I opened. From actually inception, the actual opening of the gym, just that old deadlift jack.
Wow.
The cast iron plates.
The cast iron plates on the leg press.
Yes.
They're pre-gym. They were what I had at home. That's about it, honestly. Yeah.
Wow.
There's a Texas barbell, but that lives at Southside.
Yeah.
So just a Texas power bar was the only good bar I had. Otherwise, I had these just cheap, nasty ones. So yeah, like I opened the gym with that Texas barbell, one cheap barbell, and then I borrowed 3 or 4 off of Scott Wasson, who owned PTC Brisbane at the time.
And how did you start promoting it? How did you get members?
Well, I mean, before you came, before that's another question that was on the Q&A, right? People are saying like, how many members did you have when you opened? How many members did you have at year 1 or whatever? We just calculated before. At 12 months, I had 12 members.
Yeah, wow.
At 2 years, I had 18 members. And at 2 years was when I hit break even because the 18 members, $20 a week was the original membership price. So, do the math on that. Plus, technique sessions here and there. And I was selling protein at the time and selling shirts and selling some other stuff, running comps. But yeah, how did I promote it? There wasn't Facebook. Oh, sorry. There was Facebook. Facebook existed. Instagram existed. People weren't really using it for business as much. So mainly just forums. It's like OzBB forums. I was promoting it there and word of mouth.
Yeah, wow.
Which is why it didn't grow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Can you still remember when I think back to those times? Like, there's people who are there still any current members from the first location, Narang?
There are. Yeah. There's still people. So I would be remiss right now if I did not mention Josiah Malouf. If he's not currently training here, his membership sort of ended a year or so ago, a couple of years ago through lockdown. He's sort of changed his sporting endeavors. He does a lot of mountain biking now. He was doing boxing for ages as well. But Josiah Malouf, so he actually, I met him. This is long-winded, but my ex-wife went to school with her brother was in the same grade as Josiah, and she knew that this Josiah guy was a powerlifter. And she was like, you should contact this guy. He does powerlifting and he doesn't live far away. So I did. I just randomly messaged him. I met him at GPC Nationals 2012. He was nervous as fuck, so it was the most awkward conversation ever. Just like, hi, my wife knows you. We should do something together. And he was just, you know what Josiah's like, especially at competitions. He was freaking out. It was like his first proper competition as well. Anyway, I got in contact with this guy. He came over and trained, and this is when I learned who Josiah was. Because we're meant to train. I trained from 5 to 6. Like, I used to train super fast. I used to train like Josh Takut. I used to train super fast, meet at 5. I didn't live at my dad's house anymore. I lived in Woodridge, so my stuff was still there. Meet at 5, finish at 6, go home, have dinner, go to bed. He shows up at like 6. He wasn't even warmed up till like 7. My dad's getting pissed off because we're making noise. I'm getting pissed off because I want to go home. That's just Josiah. Late, hangs around for a long time, but love him to death. But just Josiah, committed to being a member of my gym before it opened. So he's counted as the first member in my head. And he was pivotal in bringing so many of those original 12, 18 members and continued to do so for years after that. He brought so many people to this gym.
He introduced me to powerlifting.
He introduced fucking everyone to powerlifting.
Yeah. I also want to mention Josiah. I forgot to message Josiah for the 10-year anniversary video, but he's one of the first people that come to mind when anyone thinks powerlifting and PTC and Zero. So
yeah.
My bad, Josiah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So he brought a lot of the OG members in. He brought Junior. You guys know Junior. He comes here every now and then. So he's still kicking around. But in terms of how many members are still from that first location in Nerang, Lloyd Betzel.
Lloyd. Love Lloyd.
Lloyd's been on and off for years. You know, he's had lots of changes in his life as he's gone through university. He got a job, moved away, moved back. And Lloyd brought Evan Pennell. And so
Evan's the GOAT.
Evan Pennell is officially the longest serving member of this gym.
Thanks for taking the bins out this morning too, Evan.
Did you get him to take the bins out?
That's so classic Evan, because so many people here will hear Evan and be like, who's Evan? I don't know Evan.
He's here at like 4 a.m.
That's the king.
Yeah.
He has done so much for this gym. He's done so much for me over the years. He's always been there to help whenever I've needed stuff. And he loves this gym and he loves training here. And he's officially the longest serving member. So thank you, Evan Pennell. You know? But yeah, like lots of the original members filtered through Josiah, which was awesome. That helped the gym grow. It was really, you know, the first person who signed a piece of paper to say they're a member was another dude, and he trained between Brisbane and Gold Coast, so he's a member of PTC Brisbane, and he was my first member to sign the paper, but he was also the first member to quit. And like the pain of having someone say, "Oh, sorry, I can't train here anymore. Please turn off my payments," especially when you're getting like $100 a week of membership payments, is like that's a fifth of the gym's income just gone. It's like, oh. I still remember getting the email and being like, what am I doing? Like, what have I done? How can I make this happen? Because it was pretty full on, you know, like I took up a second job, the job I did through uni, which is just driving a forklift. So just getting up at like 5 a.m. or 4 a.m., going to start a job at 5, working 5 till 2. The gym opened at 3, go straight from the job down to, because I lived in Brisbane, go straight from the job down to the Gold Coast, be there from 3. The gym was open 3 till 9. Be there from 3 till 9. Most of the time, nobody came. Just me sitting in the gym by myself. And then go home and do it again. Rinse and repeat for a year. Or for 2 years. For several years. You know, there was a lot of nights, a lot of afternoons, nights, for the first, I'd say 4 years, when not a single person came in.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Obviously, you had a vision for the future back then. Was it anything like you imagined? Like, has it blown you away? How big Zero has become now?
No, it's interesting because like that statement, obviously you had a vision for the future. That would make sense. That's not how it worked though. Like I mentioned it in my one of my stories yesterday. I'm time blind. I don't see more than what's right in front of me right now. I'll talk more about what that actually means later on. But I didn't have a vision. I didn't have a plan. I never have. I still don't. Like, I don't have a vision for Zero besides, like, if you were to put a gun to my head and say some sort of vision right now, it's to commercialize strength training. It's to make this model a viable business model for other people to do. So not for Zero to take over the world, but for strength training to take over the training.
Amazing.
World. So, yeah, did I have a vision driving me or anything like that? Not really.
Yeah.
I would say pure, unadulterated stubbornness. Like for me, the concept of failing something just doesn't exist. I don't accept that there is an opportunity to fail until I actually fail. Then I'm like, failure can be a thing. And so with any task, it's like, I can do this. I will do this. And it's not like an internal driving force where I'm like, I don't believe in failure. It's like, I literally can't see it. I can't see the consequence. I don't think like that. So it's really good because you make decisions really easily, even if they're the dumbest decisions. But it's really bad because you sometimes make dumb decisions.
Sorry.
No.
When did you start seeing growth? And when were you like, fuck, I can actually make something of this? Was there ever that like light bulb period?
Not until recently.
Yeah?
Like in terms
Really?
of I can make something of this. Not until recently. I would
How
say
recent?
I would say like 2018, moving here pretty much.
Yeah, wow.
You know, up until that point, it was more just like surviving and existing. Like there was really no direction or purpose or anything like that. And so understanding what my direction and purpose is or my why, I guess you could say, has been a real influence too. And same thing when I get to that part of this journey, I'll elaborate more. But yeah, the Narang days were super interesting.
Was Andy Davis at Narang as well?
Yes. So continuing on that question, Andy Davis was there right at the very end. Andy was coming there. There was a group that he sort of, because he did our novice comps and the first few comps that I can't remember. Oh, we definitely ran sanctioned comps out of there. So he did novice comp, maybe a sanctioned comp or two out of that gym. And then a bunch of people from where he trained sort of filtered across and had dual memberships and would do half the training with us, half the training there. It's really interesting looking back. Like the power of sales is so much just believing in what you have. And so I believed in the gym. To me, I walked in that place and I'm like, this is so good. Like, why would people not want to train here? It doesn't make sense. And I remember one time a guy came in and I was so proud of the gym and I'm talking through it. I'm like, this guy's signing up. Like, if he doesn't sign up, he's the idiot. And he's like, it's not for me, man. Like, you don't have dumbbells. I'm like, what do you need dumbbells for? What do you mean you want dumbbells? You've got barbells, you've got weights. What more could you want? And you'd remember as well. Actually, you guys would probably remember that I had those 2 dumbbell handles for ages. They were just like adjustable dumbbell handles. I'm like, we do have dumbbells. It's like, it's not really what I'm looking for. I'm like, fine, see ya. If you don't want to be here, I don't want you here. That was kind of my attitude, though.
Wow.
It's so funny that you say that, because I remember when I first walked into Zero. So I already looked up to you because I followed you on Instagram. I'm like, oh, this guy's fucking powerlifter. I like powerlifting. And I remember when you invited me to train at PTC, Runaway Bay. And when I walked in, I was like, what the fuck? And I was like, what is this? And I was like, but I fucking love it. This is sick. Because you always hear about people saying they train in hardcore gyms with no mirrors, you know. It's a little bit, I don't want to say dirty because it wasn't dirty, but it was a little bit grungy. Like the lighting wasn't very great, but I was like, fuck, this is what everyone talks about. And I fell in love with that too. But I know what you're saying. Like other people would walk in there and be like, what the fuck is this? Why would I want to train here? Yeah,
for sure. Like everything's missing. Where are the machines? But that was the PDC moniker. It's like you don't have machines, you don't have mirrors. Everything should be done with a barbell, plates, kettlebells. Like everything should be able to be done. And I truly believe that. I'm like, we don't need any of that stuff. And I remember feeling so dirty when I bought my first machine. It was a lat pull down machine. It was from the 1970s. I bought it from a rugby club in Brisbane. And I bought it with a couple of dumbbells, some heavier dumbbells. And that was my first machine. And I remember getting it in and being like, what have I done? Like I've broken the PTC code. Like this is disgusting. But then every single person used it. I'm like, okay, maybe there is something to this. And that was just then like the evolution of the gym is like, okay, well, now the gym's making enough money. By 1 year in, I had made enough money to quit my job. I remember it very clearly. We had our 1 year anniversary. I made the decision then and there. Okay, the gym wasn't making money, like there wasn't profit, but there was enough money to break even. So I'm like, I can't keep working my job. I'd also had some problems at my job in terms of just like, I guess, being tired, not performing, having run-ins with the boss over things. It was just not going to be a sustainable thing. So I decided to leave at the 1 year anniversary. Immediately when I decided to leave, I decided I want a dog. We started looking for a dog. We found one dog online. That's him right there. We went and looked at him. They let him out for us to sort of view. And within about a minute, I'm like, this is my dog. And so the day that I quit my job, I left. I told them I had a doctor's appointment at 12. I left at 11. I drove down to Murwillumbah. I picked up Buddy. And then I came here, and that's when I left that job and sort of committed to the gym full time.
That's crazy. So what year was that?
2013. So that was December 2013. So again, the gym wasn't making any money. We had 12 members. Like it was making enough money to pay the rent. That sort of shows how cheap the rent was.
When did you? So you did face-to-face sessions. Did you make money that way as well?
Yeah, a face-to-face session with me was $60.
Yeah, right.
And a lot of the times, if people turn their nose up at that, I'd be like, I'll do it for 40. Which is crazy now. Like, to be completely transparent, if you want to do a one-on-one with me now, it's $250, and I'm looking at putting that up soon. Like, it's crazy to see the transformation of that. But you know, in the early days, the one thing that hasn't changed in my mindset around this at all is that I love helping people. I love people training here that genuinely want to be here. I'll always bend and break the rules to accommodate people if they genuinely want to be here. I'll always help someone out. And so, like, one of the first people that I ever did consistent training with is Charlie Evans.
Mhm.
In fact, I'd say he was the first person. So Charlie, I don't know if you've met Charlie. Do you know Charlie?
I don't think so. Maybe by face.
Yeah, Charlie's the really big kid that went over to the States and played gridiron. But he started with me when he was 13. His dad did security in the area, and he would drive past at night and see me in the gym alone or training, you know, with a couple of people. And he just popped his head in one day. No, he didn't even pop in his head. I was leaving. I'd shut up shop and I was leaving, and he was driving by, and he called me over from his car. I'm like, what's going on here? This guy in this, like, you know, the security people drive around in like a little Getz, and I had a Getz. I'm like, yeah, my Getz brother. I went and had a chat with Mark, his name is, and he told
Were they in here recently?
yeah, they came and
that's
picked
right.
up a shirt.
Yes.
Yeah. So believe it or not, but Charlie wasn't that much smaller when he started.
Yeah.
And you remember him when he came in the other day.
Yeah.
He's a big boy.
Yeah.
So like when he walked in, his dad's like, oh, my boy's a talented rugby player. He's a big kid. I'm like, yeah, everyone says that about their kids. Mark's like maybe 5'9" or something like that. Charlie walks in next to him, 13 years old. He's 6'1". He's like
Wow.
140 kilos.
gosh.
He's a big kid.
Yeah.
He's a big kid. And they trained with Zero religiously up until Charlie got a gridiron scholarship and went to the States. So like
Wow.
people like that, paying it forward in the sense of like giving to them and having the experience of like, I get to forge a relationship with someone. I get to learn how to coach. I get to provide someone with something that's giving them lifelong skills, but actually seeing that come into fruition. Like people talk about coaching. Oh, you know, this is for life. You never actually see it because you don't really, most coaches haven't been around for that long. And if they do, their clients just come and go and you kind of forget about them. But like seeing this kid turn into a man and, you know, excel in his life and still talk about the stuff that he learned from here, but not just talk about it, actually practice it, that's what makes my world go round. Paris is another example.
Yeah.
I was looking at her.
Amazing.
I was looking at her on Monday, and I'm like, this is a woman.
Yeah.
Like she started us when she was 12 years old. She was a little girl.
You were probably wigging out when I was making, even I feel weird making jokes about her drinking because she's 18 years old now.
Yeah, she's 18.
She's
now.
had schoolies. Like,
She's finished school.
Yeah.
yeah, it's wild. So, well, yeah. What am I talking about? The early days of PTC.
Face-to-face coaching.
Yeah. So I was in that spot for 3 years, and then I moved over to Runaway Bay. And the end of that 3 years was my first experience with high degrees of negativity, of hatred, of someone actively trying to tear me and my business down for absolutely no good reason. And I mean, like, one of the questions that came up 1,000 times in that Q&A was like, what are the lessons you've learned? And how to deal with those situations has been a huge lesson. So specifically what happened, there's a famous World's Strongest Man competitor who opened a strongman powerlifting gym on the Gold Coast and just wasn't a very nice person, like had very negative things to say about everyone. I remember he came to the last comp that we ran at that gym, and I was talking to him outside, and it's like, I knew he was opening the gym and it had been publicized and everything. I'm like, this is so cool. You know, if we can grow powerlifting together, you know, more powerlifters on the coast, that's how my business has grown. That's how I've gotten to this point. And I want to, you know, we've got a great crew of people that can help you run competitions and stuff. Anything you need, just give us a message. And the next thing he did was dob, I think like 30 niche gyms into the council, you know, and got, including myself, a whole bunch of us into trouble with council stuff. It's like, what? And we all found out it was him because he wasn't secretive about it. So it was really unfortunate. And so that location, I wasn't going to move. I had approached a CrossFit gym that I knew was thinking of moving in Runaway Bay and said, hey, are you guys thinking of moving? I might be interested in taking over. They said no. So I'm like, okay, I'll stay put. So stayed put at that location. And then I got that notice basically being like, you have to do something about this, which is a very lengthy and costly process. And just at the same time, the CrossFit gym got back to me and came back to me and was like, hey, is that offer still on the table? We want to move. So that's why I moved over to Runaway Bay. Within 1 week of me being there, he dobbed in that location as well.
God.
Isn't that crazy? And just like constant attacks online, constant issues being created, constant bad word of mouth. And I had met this guy once. We'd never spoken in any way, shape, or form. I knew his name because he was famous, but outside of that, no fucking idea. Just
Not asking you to name names, but is his gym still around?
no.
It didn't last very long either.
No, it didn't last long at all. In an interesting stroke of karma, I actually was going to take over that location. So when I came to the end of my lease at Runaway Bay, I went as far as getting a lease and paying the deposit. Like the final step would have been signing the lease, and I decided to change my mind on it.
Wow.
So like I paid a $16,000 deposit to go into the location that he was at, which is why that quote that I said before, revenge is not being, I was literally doing it out of spite.
Yeah.
And I was like, I would be moving here for the wrong reasons. This isn't actually the best move for my business. I'm really happy where I am, which is why I pulled out of the whole thing. But yeah, it's just interesting. Like it was just, I'd never experienced someone just hating for the sake of hating.
Jealousy and insecurity.
Yeah,
That is.
exactly. That's exactly what it is. They need you. You don't need them. They have to follow you. They have to pay attention to what you're doing. They have to dedicate huge amounts of time and mental energy into monitoring what you're doing, which means they cannot progress, which is why people like that fail. And I don't know this person again. Like I don't know them personally, but I certainly hope that they've learned from that whole experience and changed their ways and leading a better life now.
So how long were you in the Runaway Bay location for?
So we're in the Nerang for 3 years. So from 2013 to 2016. No, that doesn't sound right, does it? No, 2012 to 2015. Moved to Runaway Bay in 2015. Moved here in 2018.
That's right.
Yeah. So 3 years at both.
Man, the days I loved the Runaway Bay days. They were really cool. They were like just thinking about what we've got as a gym now, and thinking about I've said this before, but me and Edan used to message each other and like race to the gym.
Yeah.
Gee, when you get there, try get the Alico barbell.
The one Alico barbell, the one Alico combo rack. We had one combo.
Yeah, and he'd message me like, I saw Miz, like he saw Miz. She was another really cool chick that trained there too. So us three, me, Edan, and Miz, we all competed in, or we liked the stiff bar. So we'd always race to get there. And me and Edan could train with each other. So like, even though he's way stronger. But yeah, so we'd message each other, gee, when you get there, get the Alico barbell. And it was pretty funny because he'd message me, I saw Miz on Instagram. She's on the way to the gym. We'd be like,
Gotta beat her.
yeah, trying to race there. And there was the one combo rack. So we'd, I still remember when we got the combo rack.
Yes.
And that was mind blowing. I couldn't believe it. I was like, fuck, we've got a combo rack. I've seen these on Instagram. So that was cool. And yeah, we used to race to get there for the Alico combo rack.
Is that the one that's still there now?
Yeah.
The one on the...
Nice.
Yeah, that's the OG.
OG.
That's a piece of history right there. Exactly. So Aiden Potts actually on that Q&A asked me, did I ever take a risk or whatever? Moving into that space, the rent was triple what I was paying at Nerang, and it was literally all the money the gym was making. So I was going from I was leading a comfortable life. Like my day back then, before I moved to that location, I woke up, I sat in my undies and played Xbox from about 8 a.m. until 2 p.m. because the gym still only operated 3 till 9. It operated like that for the first half of its life. So I sat in my undies, played Xbox all day, got up because I wasn't doing much online coaching either, went to the gym, hung out at the gym, went home, went to bed, did it all again.
Wow.
It was a pretty comfy life. But then when that happened, when I moved, I wasn't making any money. It was back to the gym was paying for itself. I was living off my ex-wife's income. And it was a bit of a a bit of a mission then to try and attract clients and try and grow and expand a little bit more. So that's when I sort of started playing around with actually marketing and advertising. I had no idea what I was doing, but it did all right. That year though, like 2014 was when people had their eyes on me as a powerlifter. I was doing quite well in powerlifting, and 15 too. And then 15, 16 was like where I blew up as a coach. So I was getting a lot of income then from that point with online coaching, and that's where all my focus was dedicated. How
did you start online coaching?
Honestly, through the forums. Again, there was a guy in New Zealand that reached out and said there was no real powerlifting coaches in New Zealand, and he's like, I know you, I've been following you, I knew this person personally through, he was my best friend growing up's brother.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew him personally, and he's like, will you help me out with stuff? I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. So I just started doing it. Just started coaching people, and then he told a friend, and that friend told another friend, and then I started posting stuff about it, and then I started getting more clients. And I don't know if I can say I was the first person doing online coaching in Australia, because I really doubt that I was, but I didn't know of anyone back then who was doing it. So I was certainly one of the first. And so like I gained a pretty good hold on the market pretty quickly, because no one else was doing it, and anyone else who was doing it didn't have the systems, the structures, the style that I had. So once it started getting popular as a medium for coaching, I just blew up. Like at one point, between the gym and online coaching, I was looking after 250 people.
That's nuts.
And most of that was online, because between like 2015 and say 17, again, I put very limited effort into the actual gym. It just kind of grew organically, or it stayed the same. There wasn't much actual growth in the gym membership, but the online stuff was just going up and up and up and up and up, and that's where I was making my money.
When did you realize you're in a position to employ someone?
I don't know if I ever had a realization like that. I think it was just kind of like an organic next step. Like if I'm going to grow, I knew that I had the potential to grow. I knew that if I had help, I could do more. I could help more people, reach more people, coach more people. I could afford it, but it's a really weird thing having this income and being like, well, if I give this person this much, then I don't have that much. Like from a business owner's perspective speaking now, it makes sense. You're just like, well, you hire people so you can grow, and then the growth facilitates more income. But when it's your money, like, well, when you see it as your money, that's a really hard pill to swallow. It's like, well, I'm used to having this much coming in. So I don't actually know the answer to that question. But I definitely saw value in getting someone, which is why I took that step. It's really weird. Like, I don't know when it was, but there was a defined shift in me probably in the last 2 or 3 years where it's like, I own a gym to I am a gym owner.
Mm-hmm.
I think when I owned a gym, I saw the money as mine. And even though I didn't use the money for myself, I always put money back into the gym. That switch in identity, that shift from I own a gym to I am a gym owner, I see the money that comes into any of these gyms as belonging to the gym. It's like the members are depositing their money into this big bank account, and they're withdrawing an experience. And the job of the money that comes into the bank account is to enhance that experience.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, pay the bills, pay you guys, pay. I'm not an employee of the business, so I just kind of get the scraps that get left behind. But that's a hard one.
It's crazy because now I remember that because he was here part time.
Yes, First manager was a part-time employee. I can't remember when I actually started that. I know it finished around 2018, and then I had no employees again for about a year before you came on.
That's crazy.
Something like that.
I've never asked this, but were you going to employ anyone else before you employed me?
I wasn't looking, no.
Oh, so you weren't looking when I asked you?
No.
That's crazy.
No.
That's pretty cool.
It's same thing. Like I've never had a vision to grow. I've never had a vision to expand or anything. And so by then I knew what it was like to have an employee. I knew the benefits that could come from having an employee. but I had no desire to actually go out and find someone and go through that process. I knew that I'd hire you in a heartbeat. And so when that was off the table for that period of time, it was just kind of like, oh, well, I don't have an employee. That's fine.
It's crazy. I know we spoke about it in episodes previously, but in 2018, for people that don't know, I had enough of my job. I had a good job too. I just stopped enjoying it. So I just messaged Tom bro and said, hey bro, I know we spoke about an opportunity 6 or 7 months ago. Is that offer still there? I was kind of thinking, there's no way that offer's still there. That was fucking half a year ago. And he goes, yeah, man, of course. That offer still stands for you. I was like, oh, sweet. And he goes, I'll sort something out in the next couple of weeks. I was like, holy shit. So that was 2018. I'll be heading into year 5 next year.
Amazing.
Yeah, crazy.
That's nuts.
Crazy. Half the time.
Yeah, that's nuts.
But you especially, James. I mean, like you can look back on the gym, because I feel like a lot of people say that they reinvest their money into their business and they just use that as an excuse to basically say the gym doesn't make any money or the business doesn't make any money. Oh, I'm just reinvesting. What you're basically saying is you're putting money to run the thing because you don't have any. Whereas I genuinely, I lived, but I also reinvested every bit of profit outside of what was required to sustain me back into the gym. And that's like the evolution of the gym that you've seen has been massive. It's like we had those shitty old dumbbells, then we had another pair, then we had another set, we had a cable machine, then another one, then another one, then another one. Like constantly buying new things, new like 12th hand things, new second hand things, new used things. Before we've arrived to the zeros that and see now. Like it was constantly like, what do the members want? How do I get it? Where do I buy it? And normally it was pretty quick. Normally it's like, I want this. Okay, cool. I'll go and buy it. Like if it's going to get used and multiple people are going to get used, I'll go and buy it. And so that's how I've built the gym over the years, is just by constantly putting stuff back in that I felt we need. And that, like, I've been thinking about this a lot actually lately, and I have no qualms in saying it. I would say one of the single biggest barriers to powerlifting growing in Australia was Robert Wilks and powerlifting. Robert Wilks and Powerlifting Australia, the model that they ran was very exclusive, so you didn't make money from competitions. Whereas for me, it's like, I run bigger comps, I make more money, I can buy another combo rack, I can buy another set of calibrated plates, I can buy another barbell, I can grow my gym, I can make more powerlifters, I can make my comps bigger. It's just this magical circle of life. And if your gym is limited to making income from competitions, there's little value in growing the competition scene. There's little value in putting on competitions, and then it just becomes this like self-fulfilling prophecy of being stuck in the same place. And so like for years we've had shitty powerlifting gyms because the gym owners don't make any money, and if they do make money, they don't put it back into the gyms. It's definitely the hardest thing with being a business owner or a small business owner, is wrapping your mind around the concept of this money is the business's money. It can pay me, I can withdraw from it because, I'm the leader of this thing, but the money really belongs to the business. And same thing, you saw me go through that. You saw me be like, you know what? I'm a big dog now. I can buy a car. Bought a fucking Mustang, never drove it a few times, get a few, oh, that's a cool car. It's a car. So I drove my Getz most of the time. I sold the Mustang, and now I drive a car that I love. That is a very cheap, economic, just basic car. That's all
I can't
need.
picture you in a Mustang.
That's how I know him.
Really?
So I used to work at a barbershop before here, and he was a regular. That's how we
Yeah.
got connected. And he'd always pull up in a Mustang.
Wow.
And I'd always be like, man, ask about the Mustang because he'd, light the ground with the horse or Mustang.
Yeah.
And ask him about it, and he'd be like, you want to buy it?
Really?
He didn't want it. I was like, I don't want it. I'm going to lose money on it. Do you want it? I was like, well, I mean, I was like an apprentice barber. I was making nothing. So I was like, I'm not going to buy a Mustang.
So it was one of the newer models, not like an old school
No, it was a new
Mustang?
one. Yeah.
Yeah, so I test drove. Oh, I didn't test drive. Sorry, I hired one in 2016. I went on a trip to Melbourne and I hired the one. And I'm like, for my birthday next year, if my business is still going well, because again I was blowing up as a coach at the time, I'm like, I'm going to buy myself a car for my birthday. And after I got back from that trip, which was like in June, my birthday's in May the following year. Within 2 months, business had blown up even further. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I'm just going to buy one now.
Yeah.
So bought it.
So cool.
It's single-handedly the dumbest financial decision I've ever made. Like absolutely no fulfillment, absolutely not me as a person, taught me a very valuable lesson in terms of like, I don't need this stuff. I don't need stuff. And so I buy what I need and what I enjoy. I have a very cheap lifestyle in terms of the things that I enjoy. I don't need much of, and I don't have to do very often, and relatively they're not that expensive. And so any money that I make, I can use it to open other gyms. That's where these other gyms have come from. It's like most of financial success in business is just not wasting it on yourself.
I still remember when I first saw the car parked outside the gym, and I was like, who the fuck's car is that? Can you remember this? And you were not impressed. Like, when I was like, someone's like, Thomas was like, bullshit. I was like, is that your car? And you were like, yeah. Like, you weren't even proud of it. It's almost like you were gutted. You're like,
Why did I get that?
Well, because I don't like people looking at me, and like I don't like the fuss around it. And so like I enjoyed it. It was nice to drive. It had air conditioning for your butt, which is like the greatest feature of all time. But like the wow, talk about it. I didn't like any of that. And I was like, did I buy this car for me, or did I buy it for everyone else? And it felt like I bought it for everyone else. And I'm like, I don't need this to enjoy. And things like that are funny. I mean, like, if you guys ever go away and you stay at somewhere like luxurious, even a hotel room or a really fancy Airbnb, it's really cool for the first day. And it's just kind of like, toilet, shower, kitchen. And so like it becomes very old very quickly. And so, yeah, it just, I don't get much joy out of these
materialistic objects.
So like back in those days, like when the gym was just one gym and, before you splashed out on a car, what did your life look like? In a sense, like, I don't know, I think a lot of people might have this presumption that, you're a business owner, so you're just like rolling in suits and whatnot, which obviously isn't you. But like
Zero shirts every day.
Yes. But what did that look like in a sense? Like, what kind of life did you live? So I guess the paint a picture of what actually went back into the gym instead of you pulling out, Man,
I lived in the gym. I should highlight here, like we moved in early 2015 to that location. I accepted a contract with the government again. So I went back to work as a community nutritionist and do a research project at the start of 2015. So I spent a year and a half doing, again, nutrition work in the morning and then the gym in the afternoon. So part of that was like, well, I've just moved to a place that I'm making no income out of in terms of supporting myself, making no money. It's just paying for itself. And part of it was like, I'm in a way bigger space now. And it has no equipment in it. Like I need to buy stuff for the gym. I want to grow the gym. If I put better equipment in it, surely I'll attract more people. So I took a second job again. And it was a research project. I've got a publication. If you Google me, you'll probably find it somewhere. So that's what I did. And that was my lifestyle, was just really work,
Yeah.
And of course, I had my family life outside of that. I had a dog again. Back then I was married. So doing stuff on the weekends and just hanging out and
I don't know if you're going to ask, but like before we recorded, I think we asked, was there any moment where you'd thought, I'm going to call it here?
There's been tons of moments, even now, like not right now in this very second. There's been tons of moments when I'm like, where I've thought, I don't have to do this, or fantasized about what it would look like to not do this, or thought about, maybe when I get to the end of this lease term, I'll sell everything and close the gym down and do something else. And I think that's just a natural response to anything. Like I think, when you're at a job, any job, I'm sure you guys think, do I really want to stay here? Or is there a better offer out there? Or if you're in a relationship, you're like, am I really happy here? I think it's just what our brains do. We think, we toy with the idea of what things don't look like. Those thoughts were very quickly shut down by a felt responsibility to the community. Like from the steps and thinking is like, I wonder what my life would be like if I wasn't doing this. But then it's like, James is down there in his moon boot benching. I'm like, where would James be training? where would so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so be training? I'm like, I don't want them to have to go train there. This is really important for me to keep alive so the community has their third place to go, so the community stays together. And so, when intrusive thoughts like that come in these days, it's so much bigger. Not only is there such a greater community, but I also have the livelihoods of you guys, of all my staff. And so like when people ask me what's my motivation and my driving force, it's sitting right next to me, like legit. It's the people around me is what gives me any sort of reason to continue doing this.
We love you, Thomas.
Thank you.
So never a moment where you really contemplated it?
No, I was never actually genuinely close to shutting things down.
Okay.
Business has never been that bad.
Yeah.
I've never had times where I was like, how am I going to pay the rent?
Right.
At the start, when we literally couldn't afford to pay the rent, we had other sources of income, my daytime job, my ex-wife, her income, supplementing the costs of the business.
Right.
But since the business has been paying for itself, it's never been at a point where the actual cost of the business, the rent, the electricity, keeping the lights on, has ever been at jeopardy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was there ever like, I know back then like social media was different. Was there ever a lot of noise in the sense of like people going, oh, I don't know, maybe you shouldn't be doing this, or even like a sense in your case, like maybe insecurity in terms of like comparison, looking at other successful gyms and going, oh, what's going on? Like, how did you navigate that?
Yeah, massively. Absolutely. So noise around like he shouldn't be doing that? Not really. I mean, I've had haters for sure. I've had people that don't like me. I've had people that have, taken pot shots on the internet at me and blah, 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 blah. I would be lying if I said it was water off a duck's back then. I would say it did affect me. But my immediate response is like, how do I be better? How do I be better than this person? It was a very like negative driving force in terms of like, I can do better than them. I can show them kind of thing. Whereas now, if we get hate, I don't see it. I don't pay attention that much to what's happening on the internet. And if I think this is going to sound a bit pompous and arrogant, but like we don't sit here and hate on McDonald's as a business and what they're doing, because you just kind of accept that they are there and they're dominating. And I feel like that's kind of what we've done. We've broken away from the typical powerlifting gym scene to be something in its own category. And so we don't get targeted by people because there's no one in our category.
1,000%. That's exactly how I feel about it too. It's like, I don't know, we're zero now. Like,
No.
Yeah.
There's nothing else like Zero out
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
And again, it's not about being arrogant. I more look at it as like, I hope people are watching us and not hating, but thinking, what are these guys doing? How can I learn from them? What questions can I ask them so we can continue to grow the sport of powerlifting, the idea of strength training into something that is so much more viable for everyone? Because that's to answer your question, was I comparing myself? Yeah, absolutely. But I learned very early on, and I don't know if this is my upbringing, my religious background, just the way I think or whatever. I learned very early on in the business journey to look at those people who I was hating on or being jealous of or, comparing myself to and being like, what is it about them that's actually creating this feeling? It's something that they're doing really well. How can I do that better in my business? Or why am I giving this person so much free rent in my head when I can use that mental space and capacity to do something better about my business? And that's the advice I would give to anyone listening to this who gets stuck in that mindset, because there are a lot of salty people out there. You see it in their posts. You see it in the way that they conduct themselves or speak or in interactions with them. They'll always have something negative to say. Don't think like that. Don't waste your time. It doesn't serve you. It doesn't serve your customers. If you're in business, you want to serve your customers, the best way that you can serve them is to focus on making your business better. So look at what people ahead of you are doing and try and do that.
It's funny that you say that. I went and hung out with our good buddy Will Crozier last week or the week before.
The man.
And he me and him always have conversations like this, but he's like, how cool is it that like the two biggest brands in powerlifting are here on the Gold Coast?
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you think of big brands in powerlifting that stay out of internet bullshit, drama, like Zero and Nexus come to mind.
Yeah.
And like, and we're not in competition with each other. It's all love. Like Will and Thomas go way back. Will Thomas and Mickey go way back. And I think that's fucking cool. Like Will's like always liked me. How cool is it that we're both here on the Gold Coast?
Yeah.
This is the home of strength training.
I've been talking to him. We're going to squat together before I head away for Christmas, which will be really cool because I haven't actually trained with him for so many years now.
That's cool.
But yeah, love Will and Mickey to death. Love Nexus. They're doing great things. I mean, if anyone's going to follow in the footsteps of Zero in terms of the expansion that we've had, they are definitely next in line. There are I should mention here, there are other brands in the country that have had multiple locations. Probably not in the same model. A licensing model is a little bit different to Zero, where I have the ownership share of all of the gyms. I own the gyms, and it's an employee model where there's no independence in the sense that we all operate the same way. We all use the same coaching systems, the same language, the same programming styles. We've all been taught the same thing. That's the success of Zero, is that we're selling the same product in all the different locations. That's what's not being done in the powerlifting or the strength training world, is replicating a coach's system. That's the success of Zero. And I don't say this unironically. I say it genuinely. That's what the coach development system is. And it's hard coming from me because I want to scream at everyone. If you want to be like Zero, just do this thing. I literally tell you how you can be like Zero. Just do the coach development course. But of course, that just sounds like a sales pitch. It's genuine. Like what I teach you guys is, you see it. It's exactly what I do. It is literally exactly what I do. Yeah. So anyway, we were in Runaway Bay. The gym continued to grow. I put the money from the online coaching back into the gym, which is why we got more equipment. We'll just keep going.
Yeah, no, good.
This is going to be a long episode.
Yeah, I'm stoked.
Yeah.
Unless do you guys have clients or whatever?
No,
No.
not till 2:00.
I just got to go get those containers, but they can wait.
Yeah, what's another week? what's another year? So I continued to sink money back into that gym. This is episode 2 now of People Who Hated for No Reason. Mr. Rodney, welcome to the show.
Oh, rodders.
Rodney was our next door neighbor at Runaway Bay. He owned an antique shop, and look, I get it. Antiques plus heavy deadlifts, maybe not the best combo. I understand. This is the funny thing about Rodney, though. Like we peacefully coexisted for a long time before any drama happened. And then one day they were doing renovations next door, and they knocked some Dynabolts through these bricks, and it came through like the gyprock on my side. So it put 2 holes in it. No problem. Who cares? Whatever. 2 little holes. No big deal. But I walked next door. I'm like, hey, Rodney, can you come have a look at this for a second? I noticed you guys have put these 2 holes in, and it doesn't matter when. Don't care. We've got years on this lease, but at some point I'll get you to get this fixed up. Maybe while your workmen are here, get them to fix it up, because obviously I'm going to be liable for this. Then it started. I can't put into. I don't have enough time to put into words the lengths that this man went to try and shut us down. And he was successful to some extent. So it's all around council zoning stuff. We had conditional zoning that was pertinent to the CrossFit gym before, so he managed to get us shut down so we could only operate in like a 4-hour window in the evening. So I lost probably 30% of the business in terms of memberships with that move, and it took me 2 years to recover that. So he made a big dent on us, but not enough to shut us down. But just like complaints that got elevated to, he was CCing in the Gold Coast mayor. This is the kind of person that he was, just nonstop. I ended up in a government mediation with him, and about an hour into the mediation, like the guy doing it was all on the phone. The guy could shut him off or shut me off, and he shut him off at one point, and he's like, "Is this guy for real?" Like it was ludicrous. It got to the point. I don't know if I should really say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. It got to the point where the council called me, and they're like, "This is how you can get us to nullify his complaints. You just have to do this step, this step, this step, and then we can pretty much write off all of his complaints because we're so sick of him calling us."
Wow.
That's the level it got to. It was wild. Never experienced anything like it.
I'm not going to say it on the potty, but
Nah, say it.
no.
The computer.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Why? What's he gonna do?
He's listening.
Oh, of course.
Fuck. So this is the best. I really wanted to do this. I wanted to just slide it under the door and
Yeah.
give him a wink.
We should have.
No more complaints, Rodney. So
I'm just channeling that Marcus Aurelius quote right now,
so
trying to convince myself I did the right thing.
so we he chucked out an old computer.
Yeah, I was taking the rubbish out one day and I lifted up the bin. And I'm like, there's an iMac in here, like an Apple computer. Well, thank you. So I pulled it out because that's the kind of person that I am. And I set it up and I'm like, it still works. This is cool. And I'm like, this is Rodney's computer. So I gave it to Evan because Evan's a computer whiz. Evan took it home. He cleaned it all up for me, like as in like cleaned up the data and made it usable and everything like that. And he gave me all the previous data on a USB. So I'm like, well, let's see what we got here. He's like, just have a look, whatever. I can't remember if he saw it first or if I did. I can't remember if he handed me the USB and was like, you're going to want to see this. But I plugged in this USB, started going through the files, started finding some really weird things that I'm not going to say. Started finding some just like typical old person thing, like a document with all his logins and passwords to absolutely everything. And then came across this little gem, just a little folder with a date on it. Opened it up. Rodney was a bit of a freak. And a couple of folders full of nudes of him and his wife.
No way.
Yeah, just sitting there.
Have we not told you this?
I don't think so.
Oh, it was the best. I was like, and I remember being like, Tom, bro, let's print them out. Let's slide them under his door.
Bear in mind, this is like a late 70s man.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how old was he?
He wasn't a young guy. He was very old, like very old.
Let me add to this and say his wife was in good shape for like a 70-plus-year-old woman.
Well, I think she was about 20 years his junior. I think she
Right.
was a little bit younger. I get the feeling that he was quite wealthy because he didn't have any customers. He just sat in there by himself all day, and he had a lot of stuff. Did you ever go next door?
Nah.
It was set up to be like a showroom / antique shop, and it was packed. You could not move in there. And some of the things were ludicrously priced. Like he was very well off.
So, anyway, back to the computer.
Back to the news.
What did you do with it?
We
Nothing.
kept him here.
Nothing.
Watch out, Rodders.
Rent free. Right.
That computer was the gym computer until here. I can't remember when I replaced it. I get the feeling that hard drive over there still has that folder just in case.
You have to tell me what else was on it as well.
Yeah. I'll
It
tell
was
you
good.
after.
It was so funny though.
Yeah, wild. Absolutely wild.
Wow.
So in the history of owning the gym, in my adult life, I've only yelled twice, and one of them was at Rodney because he was hurtling very racist comments towards. Kevin was basically the manager before I had any staff. He was there day and night. He was there all the time. He was there more than me. One of our members, Kevin. And Kevin was Asian background. He's Chinese. And Rodney Kevin filmed him. I went away to America for a competition for Worlds in 2015, and Kevin filmed him saying some stuff, and it was just disgusting. Just like disgusting stuff. And I called him in to apologize to Kevin, and he just wouldn't do it. And so I just screamed at him for ages.
Fuck.
Yeah.
I can't imagine
Yeah,
you
I
yelling.
literally can't imagine that.
Yeah. So
Ask Kevin.
well,
Fucking hell.
you know I'm a calm guy, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure I've mentioned I was bullied most of my life. Like I was beat up almost every day. And I got really good at being like, well, I can't fight. If I fight back, I just get beat up worse. I'll just take the beating. But I got really good at learning people and being able to know exactly what would make them extremely upset straight away. And I said some horrible stuff. I peppered him pretty hard. It's probably still in his head. So not something that I'm proud of, but only he could have said whatever to me, but saying it to someone like Kevin at the time was inexcusable.
Oh man, yeah. Fuck Rodney.
Yeah. Now you guys are like, fuck, how do we find someone to get this beast out of Thomas? It's not going to happen, I promise.
Yeah. So you moved into after Runaway Bay,
Yeah.
you moved into here 2018.
Yeah, so Runaway Bay, the move to here is where Zero was born. So this is really where the story of where we are now begins. So first Zero, towards the end of the year, in 2018, I'm like, I've got a huge online coaching brand, tons of people in New Zealand, tons of people in other countries in the world, and they're wearing PTC Gold Coast shirts. And I've got a staff member now, and it doesn't make sense that if I'm going to continue to grow, that people are either representing Thomas, Lilley, or PTC Gold Coast. Because PTC was great, but it was, segregated to a geographical location. Thomas Lilley is no good because it's going to grow bigger than me. So I'm like, I need a brand for my online coaching. I thought Zero Weakness sounds pretty cool. I'll just do that. Someone asked in the questions, what names did you go through before you got to Zero Weakness? It was literally the first name. It's like absence of, you know the story.
Recite it, James.
There's no such thing as darkness, only the absence of light. Therefore, Zero Weakness. Anyway, so I created the brand. I got Nick. He didn't work for me at the time, but he was a graphic designer and he's a close friend of mine from school. So I was like, hey man, can you design me a logo? Designed a logo. It's the original logo that's on everything, and like just one banged everything. Just name, first shot, logo, very minimal back and forth. Yeah, that'll do. First shot. And created Zero. And then when I moved, I was like, well, if I'm moving the gym, it's an opportunity to rebrand. It makes sense. This gym, even though it was PTC, wasn't really part of PTC. It was just a name, and that name served me well at the beginning because, PTC was all over the country. So for context, PTC was like a chain, because a lot of people don't know PTC as well. PTC was like a chain, but just the name. It wasn't a licensing agreement, wasn't a franchise. You just had the privilege of being able to call your business PTC. And at one stage, there was like 10 to 15 of us. Now there's only one or two that still exist. All of the others have either shut down or rebranded. And so I was like, well, it's really my own thing. It's my own brand, it's my own community, my own culture. Everything is what I've created here. So let's put it under the banner of Zero. And that's where Zero was sort of born. But when I sort of talk about, what actually pushed things forward and in 2018, I went through my marriage split up. So I before I split up with my wife, I'd been recognized as maybe needing to go see a psychologist. It was actually random. Like my GP that I went and saw was just like, Thomas, you're a little odd. That's literally what he said. He said, you're a little odd. I want you to go talk to this person. I'm like, oh, okay. So I went and spoke to a psychologist and started going through that process. And psychology for me was like, well, I'm fine. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm not unhappy. I'm not depressed. Blah blah blah. But I was getting a bit out of the process, and she sort of started to say, well, I think you have, or I know you have ADHD. So went through that whole diagnostic process, got a diagnosis, went and saw a psychiatrist, got medication, but also got diagnosed ASD as well, so on the autism spectrum. And so when I say I'm time blind, one thing that comes with ADHD is you don't really see consequences. You don't see much that's in front of you. Really task focused. You focus very much on what's directly in front of you. And the beautiful combination of ASD and ADHD is that there's very little emotion attached to anything. For me, I don't really experience emotion in the same way that other people do. The stress, anxiety, depression that normally comes with people who have mismanaged or misunderstood ADHD is attached to a lot of emotion. Like the emotion sort of breeds it. And I don't really experience that. So I was just kind of numb. And so going through the breakup catalyzed the psychological process of like learning how to feel. So like to answer one of the questions, people like, what's the biggest lesson you've learned? For me, it's seeing the value in human connection and relationship. So like I had never experienced true communication, true closeness, true friendship before 2018. Never.
Wow.
And so feeling that now makes all of my interactions, all of my empathy so much more genuine and so much more heartfelt. Like I've always been a really caring, empathetic person, someone really invested in making people feel good, someone very giving and generous. Like I love doing all of that stuff, but being able to feel and not feel like I'm manufacturing feelings has been a real godsend, because I've seen so much value in other people, which is a big part. You asked me, why take on another staff member? It's like, well, because of that. Mm-hmm. And why continue to grow? Because of that. Like you guys don't know this, and maybe you do know this, but the expansion of Zero with we went from 1 staff member to 19 in the last 3 years. Most of that was before we could afford to do that. We've grown into it, so don't worry. Everyone's safe. But most of that was before we could afford to do that, which sounds really stupid. There was obviously a plan. There's obviously stuff. I wouldn't have made a dumb decision for the businesses. So it was all calculated. So also don't freak out. But like my why, the unlocking of my why, my purpose with all of this is people, is giving back, is community, is creating careers, creating opportunity. It's completely person driven. And me being able to see value and communication, connection with other human beings has been the true driving force of that, which is so interesting, right? Because I could have made a decent living. I could have made a lot of money just doing it myself and just taking that money for myself. But now I've set up a future where not only do I get to benefit from all of this, but so do a shitload of other people. And as it continues to grow, more people. So when people ask me why or what's my driving force, my inspiration, people. Is it through and through. I don't really talk about the whole ADHD, ASD thing very often. Obviously, you haven't heard me talk about it on here before. Maybe made some jokes about it or something like that. Because as it's becoming more and more cool or popular, or more people are more vocal and open about their experience with it on social media, I think there's a lot of good in that. I think there's a lot of value in that. But I think there's a lot of diminishment of the intensity it can have on someone's life. And I have a nephew who is truly autistic and will struggle for his entire life because of his autism. And I feel like someone like me who has just by chance, learned how to harness the way that my brain works and see the value in it and use it as, I guess, more of a superpower than something that's holding me back. I feel like I'm taking away from the people who are truly limited by these things. And there are a lot of people who are truly limited by these things. And so I get a lot of people reach out to me and do like private mentoring calls that are in business and experience, their experience neurodiversity and want to learn more about, how I've managed it and learned about it and all that sort of stuff. And I love helping that, but it's just not something that I am ready yet to go deep in publicly, this kind of thing. Anyway, the whole psychological process, going through psychology, learning about more about myself and how to interact with others. So not only did it help me see value in people, it was the best sales tool that I've ever had, because now I can really genuinely listen, learn, and then sell. I've always been good at imitating. I've always been good at acting, which is why I've survived. Because believe it or not, before I owned a gym, I couldn't have a conversation with a person. I was very weird, very odd. And probably for most of it up until the last 5 years, which might be a reason why we didn't really grow. But it's been a learned skill being okay, this is how people work. This is how you talk to people. Which is weird to say, because for most people, it's just a very naturally occurring thing. Whereas for me, naturally occurring things are numbers, just working, just grit. So, every deficit has a mirrored benefit somewhere. We all have struggles. We all have skills. You just got to play the cards you're dealt, right?
So what was the difference? Because I'd probably, from what I'm hearing, go as far as saying that even in the first 5 years of the gym before... I guess you got diagnosed with those, with that. Your why then was still people. It was community, wasn't it? Why you kept going, why you didn't pull the plug. So what was the difference between that season and then coming? I guess was it just knowing what you had and being diagnosed that just switched everything, and then we?
Oh no. Again, like you just said. I've always had this, desire to help people out and drive community and value in the community. But it wasn't like I went through psychology and had a switch flick and I'm like, this is why I do it. And so I'm gonna push it. There was no light bulb moment like that. And I guess the big difference, to answer your question, is that I couldn't have never articulated that back then. I'm regurgitating what I think I was thinking back then. It's literally being retrospective about it. I don't know what I was thinking in the moment, but I assume that's that was what it is. You know, in depth, I don't actually remember, but I'm almost certain that's what it was. So post 2018, post breakup, post new relationship, medication, and just like working. And then so 2018, 2019, end of 2019, I had some friends who were, they had put all of their staff and themselves through the coach development course in person. I did like a private mentorship group with them for like a year. And they owned a gym and they were looking to sell the gym. And I'm like, I'll ask around. I'll see if I know anyone that might be looking to buy stuff. You know, do you want to sell the equipment? Do you want to sell the gym as a business? What do you want to do? So I was trying to find people that might be interested in buying this gym. And then I was just like, maybe I can buy this gym. Like maybe so first I was like, I'll buy all your equipment. They're like, no, we don't want to do that. Like, okay, well, don't worry about it. You find someone else. And it just kept sitting there. It just kept going on. And then Daniel Carpenter messaged me out of the blue and was like, hey, my dream in 2 years is to open a gym. I'm like, okay, well, you can turn it into 2 months if you want. And so that's when the second gym opened. So like a lot of people think I've been like, you know, scheming for years, trying to build up this master plan of opening all these gyms. Literally all of it is fluke. All of it is accident. People are like, oh, how many gyms next year? Where are you opening? I don't know. It just happens. Like, it's not planned. None of this shit is planned. I feel like I'm so disappointing to give these answers, but it's the reality. Like, it just happened, and then Mackay just happened, and then Brisbane. Stenzel one day was like, you know, I could run a gym. I could open a gym. And I was like, are you serious? And he's like, yes. We had a meeting like 3 days later, and then we decided to open a gym.
Wow.
Like, that's how quick this stuff happened. So yeah, it's all been not planned, not premeditated. The rapid growth happened through COVID, so that was an interesting experience. A big part of it, and my advice to anyone in a business: know what the government's doing, know what the government's got on offers for small business owners, because we got a lot of help from the government. Very different story in Queensland than it was in, New South Wales and Victoria, but a lot of the growth was facilitated by opportunities that we got given because of the Queensland government, what they were doing for small businesses. So that helped a lot. And like the thing that I'm stunned by in this company or these companies is just like, the bigger it gets, the bigger the opportunities. So, when I bought my first Texas deadlift bar, it was a big thing. Like, it was hard to do and it was so expensive. Now it's cheaper for me to buy 20 deadlift bars at a time. Like, literally, like it's easier because I've got the buying power. I've got the reason to do it. And the shipping cost is heavily reduced because I can ship it together instead of shipping one bar. So like, the opportunities become huge, and then you work out ways to facilitate the growth. So it's like, well, if I'm going to open another gym, it makes more sense to get my equipment manufactured than it does to try and buy new equipment off a middleman. So we get equipment manufactured. Now we're manufacturing the monoliths, the bench presses, combo racks is coming next year. All of this is about being like, how can we make the process of opening a gym easier? And then you turn that into a business. Like, okay, well, now I can sell monoliths. I can sell benches. So it's interesting how business itself, or Zero itself, has provided more opportunity for Zero to grow. It's weird to think of it like that. Like, I could have never done, or it would have been almost impossible for me to do that 8 years ago with the gym as it was. I didn't have the capital to do it. I didn't know how to do it, but also like the business wouldn't have been able to justify it. Whereas now the business growing facilitates us to make other arms of the business. I don't know how else to describe it. I'm not that smart at business. People think I'm a genius.
And then, so how long's Mackay been around for now? 20?
Mackay was 2021.
Was it only last year?
Yep, April last year.
Yeah, shit.
I think is the official beginning, March, April last year. So Southside was Feb 1, 2020. Mackay 21, Brisbane 22, Cairns 23, Redacted 23, Redacted again maybe 23.
Ooh,
Exciting.
that's wild. So how did Khan, Becca, and Dean come into the picture?
We spoke about this on Khan's podcast, so maybe let's.
Oh yeah,
just because
yeah.
this is getting a bit long.
Yeah.
go watch Khan's podcast because we talk about it there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but it's very similar. It was just like Khan mentioned that he wanted to open a gym one day, and I mentioned to Dean, because I had a huge powerlifting section up there. I coached heaps of them over the years. I'm just like, you reckon it'd be good for a gym? He's like, yeah. I'm like, cool, let's open a gym. Just message him.
Sweet. Unless you want to touch on anything else, Tom, bro, can we get into some of these questions?
No, I think I wanted to document the journey. I think up until what I've talked about, the last few years here and the expansion to Zero, most people have seen that journey happen on the internet. So I don't need to go too far into those things. Yeah, it's getting a bit long as well.
No, it's good.
This is fascinating.
Yeah. That's why I'm not saying anything. I'm just listening.
Yeah.
We're all learning so much about the place right now. We didn't know. Yeah.
First question I'm going to answer: when is the January coaching courses? We need to actually film some ads for this as well, because I feel like we get lots of these questions every now and again.
Yeah. So, like I said before, I posted this on my story. The answer to that question. That's his name. It's not Ophir. It's no, it's Arif.
Yeah. Ofri Kraus.
Yeah. Ofri is his name. Yeah, he's in Israel. He's jumping on board. Hi, Ofri, if you listen to this. The next coach development course kicks off in January. And like I said, people are always asking various Zero gyms, oh, can I work there? Can I get a job? How do you work at Zero? Or like people asking me, how did you do what you did with the gym? All comes back down to the coaching product, the systems that we used, the business structure that we use. All of that is taught in the coach development course. If you are thinking you might want to open a Zero sometime in the future, I only talk to people that are doing the Zero coach development course about opening gyms. If you are ever thinking about like putting your hand up to work at a Zero coach development course, it's where all of this comes from. So jump in, do it. Even if you're not thinking all of that stuff, it's the best thing you'll do for your coaching.
A lot of these questions as well, they're kind of already been answered in this podcast.
Yeah. Most of it was like, where do you see Zero going? What would you tell yourself 10 years ago? Those ones are interesting, like the thought experiment of like, would you change anything in your life? Because there's two generic answers. It's like, yeah, I'd do this, and you list off the lessons you've learned, or people say, no, I wouldn't, because then I wouldn't have learned the lessons the way that I learned them. I think both are a bit cheesy and cliche. I mean, both make sense. I see why people do them. What advice would I give myself 10 years ago? Like, if I really wanted to give myself the business advice, I don't think 10 years ago I was 23, I was a kid. I don't think I'd be mature enough to be able to take it on board. I don't think I'd have the financial maturity. I don't think I'd have the emotional intelligence to understand what I was saying. But I'd really encourage myself back then to go get some fucking therapy. Go talk to someone. Figure it out a bit earlier. But no, seriously, to never underestimate the value of people.
That's great advice.
Sorry, I'm just going through the questions.
Any business decisions you would tell yourself to do differently?
All of them.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, like, again, I think if I'm to seriously answer that question, like I have to answer that question, it would be to learn about marketing and sales, like learn what a target market is, learn how to talk to your target market, learn the ways in which you can talk to your target market. Once you do talk to them, how do you sell them into actually buying something off you? Learning that whole process and then building a machine around how you can facilitate that would be the number one thing.
Were there any mindsets that you were in that you had to unlearn, and you would tell yourself, like, don't do that? Like, I don't know, for example, I remember you were saying when you started Zero that it would never be more than one gym. And then now it's so many. Is that like little mindsets like that where you'd be like, oh, don't like have that, don't think this is just one gym, or don't think bigger than that? Or
I think what I said earlier around like that identity shift from I'm a gym owner, I own a gym, to I'm a gym owner, and what that means for how you view the finances as part of the gym. Like the money made by the business belongs to the business. And if the business chooses to give it to you, well, happy days. But the business should be, looking after itself, should be looking after its employees, yada, yada, yada. I think that would be really important. And so I posted this on a story, I think, a little while ago, is that having a bigger pie is better than having a bigger slice of a small pie. And so that's the mindset that a lot of people go in, is that they want more for them, and they don't realize that there's now 4 of me sitting on this chair. and there's 19 of me contributing to Zero. And so like if I want my income or my, you know, my financial situation to grow, if I have 19 people helping me, then it's going to be even bigger and better. And so like removing that element of greed and just chasing everything for you. For me, what I always think about nowadays is like, if I've got all this money in the bank, what am I doing with it? Like logging on, looking at my bank account and being like, oh yeah, look at me, I've got this much money. I'd rather open a new gym or buy another couple of combo racks for here or whatever it is, you know. It looks better to me on the gym floor than it does in the bank account.
You're gonna have to actually go through them because I don't know what you want to.
You can't read half of them.
Yeah, a lot of them have already been kind of answered as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I won't go through them all because, like you said, most of them have actually been answered. But let's have a look. Anything you wish? Proudest moment of Zero. I saw this one come up and I was like, that's so hard. I don't know what it is because there have been so many times I've been so proud. Like, you know, you guys don't see it, but sometimes I stand in the corner and, you know, have a little bit of an emotional moment on things like when we've got a barbecue or a community day, when everyone's together and standing back and seeing like this thing is so much bigger than me, when for so long, especially when it was a very like me as business owner was driven by my lifting, like the business relied on me being a lifter, which is how a lot of coaches operate. It's bigger than me. I could quit lifting tomorrow and Zero would keep going, you know, and keep going strong. And so to step back and see like these little communities and friendship groups and all, that's probably the proudest thing. And I've seen that for like 10 years. I've been able to step back and see community for 10 years. And that's the thing that makes me the proudest. Don't even think about it. The other one there was, is there any big culture or environmental changes from 2012 to now? I want to ask you this. Like, you tell me, does it feel different now than it felt when you started 5 years ago?
Yes, it's pretty cool for me. I've seen like, you got to stop licking my knee. I've seen a massive shift in the crowd of powerlifting, especially from when I first started. And there were things. It's just. I don't know. I think powerlifting's way more friendly sport. I think it's because it's like with Zero, it's commercialized a lot more. So it's more accessible to a lot of people. Our gyms look fucking awesome. We have fucking awesome equipment. So we've got more people. The talent pool's bigger. Everything's bigger and better now. But I think one thing I used to hate was it happens in every gym. So it's not like I just hated people thinking they were better than someone because they were stronger than someone. I feel like we don't get any of that anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we had a lot of it, but unfortunately it's, you know, a strength, for a lot of people, strength sport is very ego driven. So there was some of that, but man, I reckon this is the best our culture's been in since I've been here.
Yeah, definitely. I think overall the heart and soul of the culture has always, and the community has always been the same in terms of like, we are inviting, we are welcoming. There's always going to be cracks that show like that. But watching the evolution of it is interesting. Like the weirdest thing, and this is weirder for me than any of you guys, but you guys will now experience it, especially now that you've all been here a couple of years. He's about to. The weirdest thing is the core group, like the main core group changing, you know, disappearing. It's like when the core group's here, you're just like, they're part of the furniture. And your mind just goes, that's how it is, and that's not changing. Stop it. It's never going to change. And then it changes. And then over time, none of the original core group is there anymore. Like that for me is super weird. Super weird. It's weird to evolve, see that evolve and change over the years. Yeah, I don't know really how else to put it into words, how it feels, but it's not good, it's not bad, it's just weird.
Yeah, it's different.
I've seen it just in a couple of years, but you don't really realize straight away until you look back and you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah. There's a saying that goes with that, which is like the perception of change is very different to a change of perception.
Oh.
It's funny to see, like, it's cool because like people like Evan Pinnell, who's been here forever, he buddy. You know, people like Evan Pinnell that's been here forever. Like, some people will be like, "Who's that guy?" And I'm like, bro, that's Evan. He's a goat. He's an OG around here. He does what he wants.
Yeah.
Like, just like, that's just how I say it. Like he's part of the culture. And it's funny. Then you hear that funnel through to other people. They're like, oh no, that's Evan, bro. He's a veteran. He's an OG. And I'm like, that's cool. Like, I love that. That people know that's Evan. Or like when Andy Davis walks in, that's Andy.
Yeah.
He's like OG Zero kind of thing.
Yeah.
Things like that, which is really cool.
But that should resonate true to you guys because that highlights the power that you have over the culture and community. You really get to determine what this place is, which is why I love you all so much. Like, you guys, everyone, because you've taken what I originally built with PTC in terms of the culture and community, which again is like one of the proudest things for me, and you just continue to do it so beautifully like that. That's irreplaceable.
You want to know what I love? When you see a new member come in and at first they're really quiet and then they watch everyone else like hyping people up and then all of a sudden they become the one who starts the hype.
Yeah.
It's so good. Yeah.
We've had Sam Lasoni train here from the Gold Coast Titans. He's going to Leeds. And him even experiencing the culture in the morning, he's like, bro, this is mean. Like he's talking about people coming over and spotting and
Yeah.
it's just crazy. I'm like, fuck yeah, this is what we've created.
Yeah.
Unreal. I think that's enough. Like we've been going out for ages. The ones about like where will I be, where will Zero be in the next 10 years or 5 years or whatever, I don't know. Like hopefully by now you get the idea that I haven't planned any of this and I'm pretty certain there will be more gyms. I'm pretty certain we will have more courses, more education. I'm pretty certain we will have a stronghold on equipment manufacturing to some degree. That's about it. I'm not actually actively working towards a 2-year future. I'm working on what we're working on right now. But I mean, like, this is one of the superpowers of this mindset of not having a future plan. There's a lot of bad things to it, but one of the good things about it is a lot of people hold themselves back, not just in business, but in a lot of pursuits, because they're so fixated on what they think should happen, or what they think needs to happen. Sorry. They're so fixated on what they want to happen that they miss what should happen. You know, that I want this goal. I have to achieve this. I have to have this many members. I have to build my online coaching. That they miss opportunities right in front of them that will, change the course of their lives for the better because they're so fixated on something else.
That's my favorite quote. Life is what happens to you while you're busy making other plans.
Love it. Absolutely. I just realized I missed a big hater story about Wilkes and the Islands powerlifting, but maybe that's a story for another time. What were you going to say?
No, nothing.
Oh, sweet. I think we might leave it there. Like it's hour and 40. It's almost 2 hours long. If you've made it to the end, I love you. Thank you so much for giving so much of your time to Zero in this extremely long podcast. I wonder if we split this up into 2 episodes.
Nah, people say they like the long format.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is a very long format.
Yeah.
This is fucking Joe Rogan right now.
podcast. Yeah.
You are Joe Rogan.
I'm definitely not.
We good.
Definitely not. Did anyone watch the Liver King Exposed video?
Yeah. I didn't see the video, but I've read about it.
More plates, more days. I love that guy.
Anyway.
Oh, just another thing. I don't know. I feel like a wanker saying this. Thomas said at the Brisbane, I'm assuming you'll be listening to this, people were gutted that I wasn't there. If you were gutted that I wasn't there, you could message me and we'll link up and we'll train there. We'll train together.
Yeah.
We'll get a big group of us. There's probably only 2 people that said it to Thomas. So if you're one of the 2 people, give me a message.
No,
We'll
he
go
said
train.
5. He said at least 5.
But anyone who wants to train and you're in the Brisbane area and you want to train all together, let's do it. Let's organise something.
Nice. People will be too scared to message. So don't be disappointed if you don't get any messages. It's how the world goes around. It's the same as opening a gym. Oh, I'll be there for sure. I'll be the first member to sign up. Are you coming? Oh, sorry, who's this? Do I know you? Oh, dear. All right. Well, thank you all. Love you all. That's it. Bye.
Hey, thank you, Thomas. You're a fucking legend
Thanks,
of a
Thomas.
boss. Thanks for everything you do for us. You don't even seem like a boss, not in a bad way, but you're a leader. You're a good leader.
Get a loose sleep over that.
Nah, sweet.
All right.
That's us.
Amazing. Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for listening to the ZeroW Podcast. If you want more information, head to our Instagram, _weakness. Hit the link in the bio for all of our services and any information on upcoming workshops and events. Don't forget to leave us a 5-star review so we can have a broader reach and answer more people's questions. Thank you once more.